All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jason Drews. I'm the SVP of Customer Success here at LMN. I'm going to be hosting the Mastermind Weekly this week, and today we're going to be going through accelerating payments, so strategies to get landscape customers to pay faster. So we're going to go through what some of those strategies are and how you can implement them into your business if you haven't already. And we'll jump right into it because we've got a lot to cover today. So here we go. So the first thing I wanted to go through is just regarding payment options and what options are you folks offering your clients today. So as much as I'd like to share some strategies and tips and tricks from our end and what we're seeing on the LMN side with our customers, feel free to throw in the chat, if you do have some certain strategies that are working for you as far as getting your customers to pay on time, and what's working for you in the chat. And hopefully you'll learn just as much from your peers as maybe some of the takeaways that you take from this presentation today. So if you do have some structures for how you're setting up those contracts and what type of work that you do, feel free to share it in the chat there. And like I said, we'll see if you can pick up a thing or two from the chat there too. One of the themes that we're going to talk about today is just really how to make paying invoices as easy as possible for your customers. Sounds simple, right? But in actuality, we know that there's a lot of things that have an influence on your customer's ability to pay their invoices quick. And it's not always as easy as it seems, right? So we're going to start by discussing some online payment options that you can offer, such as credit cards. And how that can impact your ability to receive payments quick, and conveniently improving your customer experience at the same time. Because at the end of the day, when you offer credit cards, I know there's a stigma around the fees associated with credit cards, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But ultimately, especially in the residential market, right, there's a lot of people that like to collect rewards. They want to collect those points. They want that cash back on their purchases. And you'd be surprised what we see with people putting on their credit cards in terms of dollar values from residential projects. So it's not just, the $1,000 a month maintenance package that they're putting on their credit card. We've seen projects, over 100,000 that people are putting on their credit cards because they want those points, they want that cash back, and offering that as an option to your clients can allow you to improve that customer experience and just make it nice and smooth for them to make a payment. It's also going to allow you to reduce your non-billable, your overhead time in the office, the costs associated with chasing down checks and collecting payments in person, right? If you can do that digitally, that can save your team a lot of time, especially if you make that payment option recurring, right? Or you allow your customers to make that payment on their own. You can reduce a lot of admin time associated with collecting payments. So recovering processing fees in your budget, just like any other overhead expense, is a great way to recover the merchant fees or the interchange fees that are associated with credit cards. It's just another cost of running your business. So there's definitely, in speaking with LMN customers, that stigma around fees, and you'd be surprised. Maybe some of you are already collecting credit cards and you're using this payment option currently. But if you're not, because of fees, I wouldn't necessarily let that hold you back, because it can be easily recouped in your budget, just as any other expense would. And it can lead to people buying more, right? They might spend more if they can put it on their credit card, and get those points back. It's just another avenue that you've got at your disposal. So starting off with an easy one there. If you're not collecting this already, you're not accepting credit cards already, definitely recommend that. It can also expedite your payment acceptance, like I mentioned. If you offer any sort of customer portal or just a payment option on your website directly. Some customer portals, depending on the system that you're in, can actually be linked to your website too. So if you didn't know that, you can take that URL, turn it into a button on your website, make it nice and convenient for your customers to access, so that they can just go onto your website, find that Pay Now button, if you will, and log into that portal to pay their bill. So even easier than that is allowing them to pay by email. So you can set up automatic email reminders and notifications that go out to your customers that you can automatically send through whatever system that you're using to accept payments. And the convenience of that is your customers would then obviously be able to, right from their phone, pay that bill with their credit card of their choosing, right? And you get paid faster as a result. So again, going back to that theme, the easier you can make it for your customer, the more likely they are to pay faster, right? For our US customers and everyone joining us today from the US, there's a lot of talk around ACH, so Automated Clearinghouse, the abbreviation there. And essentially that's just a transfer from bank to bank, right, at a high level. And people like ACH because it's generally less expensive fee structure compared to credit cards in most cases. And if you only offer ACH, that's all right. It's still an avenue that your customers can have to make paying their bill easier, which is great. But like I mentioned before, there's definitely that clientele that do like to get those points and the convenience of credit cards in a lot of cases. So offering that flexibility, the more options that you give your customers, there's definitely benefits to getting more flexibility, and it improves the overall customer experience. Now, financing for residential is an interesting one. There's an example here on the right-hand side, just from LMN. We do offer it with our proposals as well. But why is financing important? Enerbank, actually, a bank in the US that focuses on home improvement loans, they did a survey and they found that 43.8% of customers will actually spend more if they're given the option to finance their purchase. So when you think about that, and yes, I mean, it was conducted by a bank, so take that with a grain of salt. But even if you were super conservative with that 44% number and said, hey, they spent 22% more, that's still a huge increase on a potential job that you're selling to your customer by giving that flexibility of financing. So it'd be interesting to see like who's offering financing already and who's not, and if you're seeing that as a result in your day-to-day business. Because if you're not, pay attention to those that are and see if that helps them, because it's another avenue. You don't always have to be the one on the hook to provide the financing too. There's a lot of options where the financing, like Acorn in the picture there, will actually work directly with your customer. So it's business as usual for you. You don't have to be that middleman, if you will, to get in between that and take the funds. They get the funds sent directly to them, and then they would pay it just like any other type of deposit or invoice. And that way you get the benefit of having that customer sign on because they were able to get financing, and your customer gets the flexibility in payment options or whatever that they're looking for on their side. So great option that you can use to facilitate maybe increasing the revenue on your bids by allowing some flexibility on your customer side. For those, just while we're on that topic too, for those that are using Element, if you're curious, I think the Acorn is open to US only on residential jobs over $1,000, as you can see in that photo there. So just in case. So next, prepayments, right? So this one's, I'm sure a lot of you are offering this already, especially on your maintenance contracts, right? We want to reduce the risk of non-payments or late payments. Sometimes there's disputes over service delivery that you want to protect your bottom line on. People run into financial issues. It just gives you that buffer when you can get that prepayment to protect that profit margin. And depending on the type of work that you do, you can set contract dates to actually aid cash flow over winter months by using prepayments. So what do I mean by that? For instance, if you set your contracts to start October 1st and run until September 30th, and maybe your contract starts with a fall cleanup, well, now you've got those prepayments coming in October to sort of cash flow you through those winter months, where maybe the winter months are going to be a little bit lighter cash flow wise. And that can kind of aid almost like a line of credit, if you will, if that works in your type of business and with the service offering. So you can get creative with these prepayments, right? So they don't always have to be, start of April 1st, right? I've seen some success with some of our customers that do offer it in October, and they get that big cash flow increase right before the winter, which can really help set them up for success moving into the next year. And then, of course, consider providing modest incentives to your customers for settling their bills in advance. Pretty common to see 2 to 5%, I would say, is what I see from a lot of LMN customers, where they offer that prepayment. If you pay up front for the whole year, we'll give you that 3% discount or 5% discount, whatever that discount is. And that's just a nice little incentive that you can offer to get them to pay in advance. But it doesn't always have to be a flat percent, right? So it's definitely the most common. But if you don't want to lose that margin, or maybe you're not working it into your costs or anything like that, there's some other things that you can offer to still provide incentive without having to take the hit of offering a discount. So again, you can get really creative with this. Maybe it's an extra service at a reduced rate for something that you're trying to sell as an enhancement. It could be priority scheduling. So that's an easy one that doesn't really cost you anything, but to the right clientele, telling them that they're prioritized as, their pick of the date, if you can accommodate, obviously. Again, you can get creative with how you want to set that up, but it's just something that you could technically offer that's not going to really cost you from a discount standpoint of things. So priority scheduling is another one. And then again, deals on enhancements that you offer, or maybe you're trying to upsell turf care package or something along that lines versus just a flat discount. Whatever it is, you know your business obviously best and what you can sort of offer. Point is, try to get creative. There's a lot of great examples from LMN clients that I see on a regular basis. Network, talk to your peers. There's some good stuff that people are doing there. The next tip really is, setting clear payment terms and conditions. So why is this important? I'm sure if I were to poll everyone that is in this webinar today, a lot of you likely have different terms, right? Maybe the bulk of what you charge is due on completion. Maybe depending on the project size, you require 100% of it up front. Maybe you do progress billing, or it's a mix of the above, and you've got net terms due on completion or due within 7 days or 15. Maybe you bill on the 1st and you charge on the 15th. The point is a lot of people offer different things here, right? So as long as those terms are clear and upfront, make sure it's documented, obviously, in your terms and conditions. Clear and informative to your client is key, because if they know and they know what the expectation is up front, it can lead to avoiding any sort of confusion around what date they're actually supposed to pay by. When is that progress billing being worked out? A clear payment term, a clear schedule can go a long way to making sure that you get paid fast and paid on time. So if you feel like your terms are a little murky, or you deal with a lot of late payments, check out those terms and conditions and how you're presenting them in your bid, or explaining them to your customers. And there might just be some confusion there that you could simplify that could lead to some faster acceptance of bills. On the right, we do have some samples in the LMN system. Obviously, run them by your legal and whatnot. These are just samples, but you can set those up in LMN too, of course. And again, just try to keep them as clear as possible. Now, invoicing quickly sounds simple, right? Like I mentioned before, how quickly are you getting your invoices out though? Because dependent on how fast you get your invoices out to your customer can obviously have a huge impact on how fast your customer pays you. So if you're delayed on getting those invoices out, there's so many things that come up, right, in the day-to-day that can affect your speed to invoice. Maybe it's just a time-consuming process for you. It's your busy season. We're right in the thick of it right now in the spring season, right? There's a lot going on. Maybe a timesheet got lost, like a paper timesheet. Someone forgot to enter in the information. You get the idea. But if that is something that you're dealing with and you'd like to get your invoices out faster, start documenting like what went wrong and try to put some processes in place to prevent that and allow you to invoice faster, right? So one thing that I will say is we're seeing a lot of snow companies especially that are invoicing a lot faster. So they're not waiting to bill once a month or invoice once a month. They're able to bill like a day or 2 days right after a snow event. And when it comes to snow, it's obviously a very great thing to be able to do that so that your customer doesn't forget. It's funny how fast you forget about a snowfall, but guilty of it on my end too. When you don't, it's not something that you think about every day, and then all of a sudden you get a bill 30 days later, and you're like, did it snow 3 times last month? It can play a huge impact, and then you got a phone call, and you got to deal with the customer's questions about how many inches it snowed and when it snowed, right? If you get that bill out much faster and it's 2 days after the event, well then yeah, I know it snowed 2 days ago, and it's less likely to cause that confusion on your customer side, and less phone calls into the office. Again, save you some administrative time there. Obviously, the impact on cash flow is huge. You're not waiting till the next month, right, to charge for that once a month. If you're charging per occurrence and you have the flexibility to charge after an event, it would have a good impact on your cash flow. And really, the last point there is with technology, right? That can obviously lead you to invoicing faster. So it's not necessary to bill just once a month anymore. Again, depending on your contract structure, obviously, but there's definitely a lot of per visit or per occurrence billing in the snow industry, especially. And so that's why I think we're seeing more and more customers on our side opt to bill this way because there's a lot of benefits to doing so. So on the topic of using technology to get paid a little faster, given that on the LMN side here, I'll share a few examples from LMN of ways that we can help facilitate things there. I know we try to keep these a lot more business oriented, but on this topic, I am biased here at LMN. So there's a lot of great ways that you can do this, and there's other technologies that facilitate this too. But in LMN, you can set up your customer portal, and your customers can actually set up auto payment preferences. So if they don't want to hand over their credit card and have you do it on your end, they can actually accomplish that right in the customer portal on their own end to give them that flexibility. And then they can choose how much you're able to auto charge them each month. So, if you're facilitating a maintenance contract and it's normally, $600 a month, let's say, and they set their limit to around $600. If you do some enhancements, then maybe they're going to be prompted to go through and manually pay that one because it falls outside of that scope. But for everything recurring, it'll just automatically charge them. So nice and easy on your side, creates that flexibility and positive, transparent customer experience on your customer side to make using LMN and technology help you get paid a little bit quicker. So if you did want to handle it yourself, you can do that too, of course, on the LMN side. So there's nothing like setting up recurring payments, right? Set up recurring payments, especially for those maintenance type contracts. You can fill in the card information on your client's behalf. Customers get an email notification from the system. And again, the whole idea here, like I mentioned right at the start, is we want to make this as easy as possible. So what's easier than you doing it on their behalf? Not much, right? So you do have that capability as well in the LMN system to set up that auto charge. If they don't want to be bothered with going into the customer portal, maybe it's a commercial client of yours and they prefer not to use a customer portal and you just want to set up that auto charge yourself, you can certainly do that. And again, this is just a way that's really going to help you get paid a lot quicker. For those of you familiar with LMN, we have our Pro and we have our Pro Plus packages. With Pro Plus, you can generate all your invoices in bulk. So these are everything that your staff are doing in the field. So I brought up snow earlier and per visit and per occurrence work. The information your team is putting into the app, right, around what they've done, what services they've performed, how much salt they've used, all that stuff can be used to create invoices. And then all you would need to do is review and approve those invoices, and you can bulk send them out for payment. So when we talk about speed to invoicing, this using technology and the LMN system like this, again, is just a great way that you can expedite that whole invoicing process and how you're actually going to be able to send out an invoice after a snow event the next day or 2 days later, right? To be able to do this in bulk for all the work that was logged already, that's what's going to facilitate getting those invoices out super quick, so that you can get that cash flow going and move on to the next snow event. I see a lot of chat questions here. It looks like the team is on that, so that's great. Thank you very much. We'll keep going here. Just a quick snippet here. So if you are looking at, if you are an LMN customer, and you're curious on how to facilitate that, here's a quick example where you can generate all those invoices in bulk. You just set your date range, nice and easy. You can even set up invoice groups. So maybe you want to facilitate a invoice run for a school district all at the same time, something like that, or an HOA. You can set those groups up in advance. Again, just trying to showcase some ways that you can make this as streamlined as possible, with the goal of making it easy for your customers and making it easy for yourself to get paid. So we talked earlier about sending emails and being able to pay your invoices through email. LMN does help facilitate that as well. You can easily send emails to your customers, yes, for invoices. You can also send them to the customer payment. Customers get notified via email, and then they can just pay that with their credit card right from that email. Or they can log into their customer portal and pay through ACH if they prefer, or credit card. And as of yesterday, we had an update last night, which I'll talk about as well, just to plug that. But some of you may not be aware, we made some changes to LMN. It would help if my slide advances. There we go. Where you can facilitate how you want them to pay. So this was a really big request that we got from LMN customers. Hey, I want to be able to dictate if this invoice is going to be credit card or if this invoice gets paid through ACH. I will note that ACH is for US customers only. I can't remember if I mentioned that or not, just in case. And so this was a huge request from our customers. So our product team, as awesome as they are, they thought, you know what, we can do one better. And not only can you set it by payment type and say, yes, I want this invoice to be a credit card payment or ACH, but you can set up preferences and limits. So again, we talked about fees before, and there's a lot of apprehension about using credit cards because of those fees. Well, with this update that came out last night, you can set that limit. So maybe you're okay. Just saw the chat there, yes. So maybe you want to allow that credit card transaction still, because again, there's a lot of people that still love paying with credit cards, right? And so maybe you don't want to get away from that completely, and you still want that flexibility. But maybe anything over like 20,000, you'd prefer they don't pay by credit. So for those large projects, you want to push that to ACH. Well, with this update, you can just plug that into your settings, and now invoices up to 20,000, they'll be able to pay by credit card, and then after 20,000, it goes to ACH. So it gives you that flexibility to improve your customer experience, give them what they want, and also you on the back end, obviously, by still managing your fees if that's a concern for you. If it's not a concern, of course, you can let them have at it with whatever payment option you prefer. But this is just another tool that you can use in your LMN account and take it one step further than just saying, credit card or ACH. and set that dollar amount, which is a real game changer for us. So super excited about this one. If you're not using Element for payments and you are an Element customer, just threw a quick we threw a quick QR code, say that 3 times fast, on the slide here. It'll take you to the sign up page. Super easy to get started with our partners at Clover Connect. And if you have any more questions about that, you can actually email pay@goelement.com. So there's instructions on the page here too, if you did want to check it out for yourself and your settings, and how you can kind of see to set up those preferences. You may not be able to do too much if you're not on the payment side, but if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our team. And so in addition to that, there was also feedback like, well, not just at the settings for everyone, but I want to be able to customize this at an invoice level or maybe at a CRM like contact customer level. So again, you're able to do that now as well as of last night. So you can override the account level defaults directly in your CRM for a particular customer. If for one particular customer, you always want them to pay ACH or always want them to pay credit card, you can facilitate that. And then directly on each invoice, you can facilitate it as well, as you can see in that screenshot there. So if you're doing a large enhancement project for a maintenance customer and you prefer that they pay ACH, just adjust that invoice. Every other invoice that you normally send would still have your regular preferences. So great way to facilitate that flexibility, not just at your account level, but invoice and customer level too. So I think that was a question from Tyler. Tyler was asking if the payments can be customized to the individual customer. Yes, they can. So there's a few other questions. We'll see. I think there's just a lot of discussion there, but I might keep us to 30 minutes today. So if you are curious about this new update, again, it just came out last night. We did send an email, so hopefully you got that email and you've seen it and checked it out. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our support team. As always, you can check out our live virtual training as well online. If you're not sure how to access that, it's in the help and resource section in your Element account. And next week, we've got some great topics as well. We're going to be going through streamlining skills development with automation in your landscape business. So you can join Matt Krinclaw, our SVP there on the Greeniest side, and discover how leveraging those automation tools can help you revolutionize your employee training, performance tracking, and compliance management. So if you're not signed up already, feel free to scan that QR code to get registered. And I'll see if there's any other questions before we wrap things up. So there's a lot in the chat, but I think it's all discussion on how everyone's payments options are structured. So that's great. And Michael's asking if there's a way to see if a customer has viewed the invoice. Is this available in the Element customer portal? I think Liz is our resident pay expert, who will also help you if you sign up for payments. So we'll walk you through how to use that. So thank you, Liz, for taking that question. So that's it for me. Thank you for joining. We'll keep it to 30 minutes today, and I hope everyone has a terrific rest of their day. Thanks, everybody.